All right, hi everybody. So since this is a quick fire webinar, I'm going to go through the intros a little early as more people trickle in. But welcome to our first tips and tricks webinar, Mastering More4apps, Essential Tips for the EBS Toolbox. I am Stephanie and I'll be moderating today's webinar. So I just want to go over a few things as fast as possible before I hand it over. So our gracious host today is Rachana Hayes. She is a solution specialist here at More4apps, and many of you actually might already know her. So Rachana's Oracle story started just after she finished studying electronics engineering in India. Following her degree, she moved to the US for Oracle eBusiness Suite implementation and support services, and has been working in this space for over 15 years. Her knowledge of EBS has taken her across many different around the world, many different countries around the world, and for various implementation of modules. And she also serves as a board member on multiple Oracle users OATUG special interest groups. So after Rachana presents, we will begin our Q&A portion. During the session, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box down below. We will answer them during the Q&A portion only to allow everyone to hear the presentation and hop off at the end if needed. And after this webinar, there will be a survey. Since this is our very first rendition of this tips and tricks webinar series, your feedback is very much appreciated. And like always, we will send out the recording after the webinar. But let's actually get to what we're here for. So Rachana, you can take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, to the very global and vibrant community of our More4apps users. I am hoping that you already are ahead of your day with the efficiency provided to you by the More4apps toolbox, the EBS toolbox. I might have worked with many of you on various sessions, and I'm trying to cull through all of the learnings and tips and essential, best practices that I've shared in these web sessions with each of you, and I'm pulling them together in this webinar series, the first of which I'm delivering today. So let's dive right in and talk through how to get more mileage out of your More4apps tools. So let me start sharing my screen and we'll jump right in. Okay. So I'll take away the screen share from you, Stephanie. All right, so I'm going to dive into some of the tips using a very generic price list wizard. It's something that you all can relate to. Most everyone has customer pricing. And in the day and age that we are in, many of us are seeing a lot of fluctuation in the customer pricing, which is most often tracked in the advanced pricing module in the price list, customer price list. And this is the wizard which maps exactly to that. It's a very generic wizard. That's why I've chosen this. It's API based, so you wouldn't have any interfaces. And most of what I'm going to demonstrate, in fact, all of what I'm going to demonstrate today are generic, horizontal across all our EBS tools. So you can definitely port them over to whichever tools you're using in your day-to-day or managing. Okay, so this is the price list wizard. And let's go right in. So I'm going to demonstrate a simple scenario of price fluctuation. Let's say you're given that there are certain items that are going to be changing their price. And they go through fluctuations, so you have to change prices on a certain customer price, the price list. And price lists usually are named by the customer, so I'm going to download, essentially extract from EBS, from my connected instance, a bunch of price lists named by this customer, let's say. All of my customer prices are named, price lists are named by this, this keyword. So I'll be searching. So one of the first things when you're downloading by sheet, many of our wizards, most of our wizards have this percentage as the wildcard. You can just plug in the percentage wildcard values along with your string and give it a combination. So you could do yes as active. You want active price list with this price list name. I can even plug in specific items if I want down the line. So you could do in most of our wizards, if these columns are classified as downloadable columns, you can search by multiple criteria on the same row. And then if I say download using sheet, it'll get only active price lists with this name in the price list name as a substring somewhere. So that's how you get it. So this must be pretty simple. Many of you are doing downloads. Now let's see if many of you would have known that you want to, we always talk about trimming down columns to make it faster when you're uploading. So I'm going to do a price change or a revision on these prices. I see a lot of columns here. I see a lot of data. Maybe I should trim it down and remove some of the columns while doing the upload. Now, did you know that you can actually park columns without losing the data? Some of you are scared about straight away going and removing random columns right away like that. Right click and delete is the typical way we tell you to remove columns, but it just blows away all the data and everything all in one go, which could be a little scary. You might think it might blow things up. So what's a good way to kind of park the columns, test things out, and then come back and remove the columns only when things are working well? So let's see how you can do that. So when you're a little iffy on the edge, can I remove this column? Can I not? A very simple way to test it out is, let's say I just take the column names, park them somewhere else. I don't remove the data yet, and then test it out. Can I upload? Okay, that will immediately tell you something's missing. Okay, usually it'll tell you unable to continue in the absence of required columns. And it tells you right here, line type. So now you can pull it back without having lost any data. I can just pull back the line type. It's right here. And then I know that I don't need the others. I might need the unit of measure, so I can just pull it back in. Now I can really trim down remainder of the stuff. So let me just go blow it away when I'm doing an upload. I don't need all of these. I don't need product category. I just need the item number. I know exact item numbers which are going through a change. But I do need the line type. So it was a quick way to know without losing data. Just park the columns, column names or the column labels up there, try it out, bring it back. That's a quick and easy way to try trimming down your columns, before you actually blow away the data. All right, so assuming that I have it all clamped down, I would ideally remove attributes as well. So let me just blow them away. I'm pretty sure my attributes are non-mandatory. So this is pretty much where I want to start my upload, pretty quite compact, just the columns I need. So let's go down to, let's say I want to filter out anything that is end dated. I don't want to update that. Okay, so now that I have a compact layout, I want to do some filtering. Many of you have raised this when I'm going through my web sessions. How do we filter? How do we sort when things are broken like this on the header section? It's not easy to do the sorting here. You lose the parent child if this appears ahead of the header. So there's an easy way to filter or trickle down all the header information to every row. And this is also a lesser known kind of a feature. You go into format data and you denormalize. What this does, you'll see, is that it replicates all of the headers into every line. Right? So this header information will appear against every line now. And now it becomes easy. This is simple Excel data, and you can filter, sort, whatever you need to do, change the order of columns or rows rather, change the sequence of the rows and still not lose any association to the header. This is also useful when many of you talk about bringing in data from SQL outputs. SQL outputs, as you know, come in this format. The header does repeat. Even when you're doing a query join from a parent table to a child table, you do a SQL query output. You just have your IT run a quick query, and when they give you an extract, it will always have the header as well as the line information. Right? So you can paste it in here this way. And then the flip of what we did was normalize, where you can collapse all the header information back in a format that More4apps likes during upload. I'll go to that. Let's do the filter first. So if I want to filter on this, I'll just take the entire data set. I'm just dragging it, but yes, there is, you can also do a Control, Shift, and End, I believe, and then that'll take the entire data set. I can introduce filters in here. So let me just go into data. This is normal Excel. I can introduce filters, and I can filter on anything that is not end dated. Okay, so this is the header. I want to go to the line and then filter out everything that is not a blank. Okay, so let me remove these columns, or rows rather. So I can straight away go delete these specific rows. And then I'll remove the filter. So I only have open-ended now. And I want to do a revision on them. But let me get it back to the format that More4apps likes. I don't want each one to be a new header. So I'll do the flip of what we just did before. I was normalize, which means I want to collapse it into consolidated headers again. Very quick and easy way to go from the detailed SQL format back to the More4apps format. So you can flip-flop between them using the normalize and denormalize. Very helpful in filter, sort, as well as in SQL outputs being brought into our wizard. All right, so let's update the new price now. And did you know that you might have known that you can default the values like I've done here. I put update as the action. It's going to trickle down on everything. Many of you know the default, how it works, but you might not have tried using formulas on top of it. So let me show how to do that. So let's say I want to end date all of these, but I want to peg it to 30 days from today or 15 days. I can actually go and do a formula here, today plus 15. This is the default, and it's going to stick in to everything. I can peg it to a certain value. Let's say I want to increase, this is the new price column, and this is the current price column on these items. So these are the items, and I want to bump up the pricing on them by 10%. So conveniently in the price list wizard, we have a separate column for the new value. So I can easily use a formula here. So what I ideally want to do is a 10% increase on the current price right here. So I'm going to use the default values here. Instead of doing it on the data, I can do it right here, 1.1 times pegging it to this current value, tab out. Obviously it's 0 here, but the magic is that these formulas will, when they trickle down, they'll peg it to the current value automatically, okay, because it is an Excel formula. So this is a little lesser known feature that you can use formulas on the default values row, and it will translate down to the corresponding value when you upload. So I'm going to use that, and let's go through. So I'm going to highlight all of these, and you'll see how it trickles down. I'm going to say upload selected. And now you'll see the values getting translated down. And these work across board. I've noticed that you use multiple wizards. I've seen users of AP, AR, item wizards. This trick will work everywhere. The only difference in some of those wizards is that it'll give you pending status at the end of the upload because it is interface based, whereas this one is an API based. So you'll straight away see an accept or reject at the end. Okay, but you can see that it is all pegging a 10% increase on these values automatically. So the formula translates down to the rows. All right, coming in here, everything is accepted, all green. So this is done, all in a jiffy. All right, now if you want to reprocess the same data, another lesser known feature, there is clear status columns. When you want to re-upload something, for a few of them, most of our wizards will have a clear status columns. There is clear status and ID columns. If I want to recycle this data and let's say generate a new price list, you'll see that what this does in one sweep, it takes away the status columns. Whenever you see clear status and ID columns, it'll take away all the IDs as well at the header level, at the line level, and this becomes raw data for a new record. For example, if you're on AP invoices, you download existing data, you can clear status and ID columns. blow away all the links to the old data, and then that becomes raw data for a new invoice if you want to do recurring invoices, just to change up your dates, the invoice number, naming, and then you can re-upload. So it's a very easy, quick, and convenient eraser kind of a tool that can take away all the linkages to the old data if it's IDs, or just clear the status columns for another update if you want to run it. Let's say I want to just end date this to 2025. I can just put an end date now and re-upload. Because it is cleared of the status columns, it can re-upload and process it. All right, so that's another. Now let's go to a little more. I saw that there are a lot of administrator and IT kind of functions. So there are a lot of tools and things that are hidden under the layers for administrative functions as well. Let's say you want to deploy the wizard to a lot of users, or there are multiple wizards that you're managing, and you want to plug in all your instance lists. You have your login instances. You want to take that over and plug it into many wizards. And there are, let's say, 10 or 20 instances that you might be managing. So how do you quickly take that instance list and deploy it into multiple wizards or multiple users, into multiple copies of the wizards very quickly without having to go in and configure the instances? So let me show you that. That's also a very lesser known feature. I'll just log off for that because I want to bring up the instance list here. So when I log in and get in here, these are the instance lists. And I want it to be easily portable. So I wanted to show this. These are my instance lists, but the quick and easy way to port it is, let me just log in again. There is a quick and easy way to extract all of these into a sheet. So I'll show that. It's very useful for administrators. And keep your questions coming in through the chat or the Q&A. I'll get to it. Stephanie is already monitoring, and I'll get to it at the end once we are through with all of these. Okay, so when we are logged in, I'll just generate, let me get rid of this ribbon for the sharing. I'll just generate a new sheet here. And then when I'm on this new sheet, sharing is again coming in my way. Let's back down. Okay, so I go into setup and I can say export URL on a new sheet. All right, and I take this in, I can say on the active sheet, when it asks me select the workbook and worksheet where you would like all the URLs to be extracted, I'll just select my current workbook and the active new sheet and export all my URLs. Okay, and then you can go into the new wizard and do the opposite, which is the import URL, pick the active sheet, and you import all of the URLs into that. Okay. So that's how it'll load in a very quick and easy way. You can take your instances and take them over to a new wizard or to new users. You don't have to configure them on that log on, log out screen one at a time. Okay, coming back here, I want to go into a little bit more of tidbits for the technology savvy or the technically savvy people now. So let's say your users come to you and ask about extending the download function. There are great download features. There is download form where you can search by multiple things. But let's say that's not enough. You want to download using certain attributes or certain other things which are not out of the box on the download form or on the download by sheet. You can get into advanced downloads. You can extend your download by using a custom query feature. I just want to leave that thought. I won't go through the details because many of you are mostly on the end layer of using the wizard and not really going into the configurations portion. So I won't go too much into the custom query. I just want to leave that thought for the tech savvy people that You can extend your download capabilities by going into custom query and configuring your simple SQL queries, embedding them under managed queries. I have a bunch of queries here, which are on our test instance. You wouldn't see all of these. You will see what is on your instance, configured on your instance alone. And these are all just, let's say, I just take any query, I'll just take open ER. These are all SQL queries. If I go in here, you can take it straight from your SQL developer, Toad, whichever tool you're using, and plug it in here. Right? It's very easy to configure a custom query. And then for an end user, all you need to do is navigate into the custom query ribbon and use the downloads embedded here to be able to utilize the SQL queries that you have plugged in. In addition, many users come and ask, or many IT people, the administrators come and ask if they can plug in their own custom logic. It's very good that it uploads through the APIs, but we want to add a layer on this data before it goes in. We want to add some business logic to it, some validations, or trigger off something else, workflow or something else from an additional layer using this data. So bear in mind, most of our wizards have something called extension packages, where you can go in and plug in an additional layer. They're empty handler packages to begin with, but you can go in and plug in your logic within that, and you can get access to all of this data, which is passing to the API. Before it is handed off to the APIs or the interfaces, the extension package gets hold of all that uploaded data, and you can add an additional layer of validation. And all this is usually encapsulated or captured within the user guide, which is always handy under any of our wizards under the help user instructions. So this is always a very handy page, and you can look for any of that features within here. Profile options, you can search for extension packages and it will show you where it is available. Custom query, you can search for that. Okay, so within here, you can see there is custom query here, and probably this wizard doesn't have an extension. Usually you would see an extension package. You can even search it here. The search function also works really well within our user guide pages. Okay, so this doesn't have an extension package, but it has custom query as a feature. All right, so these are some of the things on the wizard, and I'll be looking through the questions very quickly at the end. But I wanted to navigate off the wizard at this point and talk about a few other things as well. You saw a lot of tips, a lot of things that we were doing, we show often, but sometimes we learn cool stuff from our users as well. They do a lot of, cool things like building their own charts and things on top of the downloaded data, or they do a lot of formulas and macros as well. And we learn a lot from our users, but you all can also get connected to your peer community of More4apps users. All that is getting very rapidly enabled, and I'm going to navigate over to the More4apps, really brand new, recently launched More4apps community. And I encourage all of you to register. It's called community.more4apps.com. That should take you there. And this is a very, very good platform for you all to connect with each other. There are discussions that can happen. Our product team, our support team is always on top of these discussions, so we can also chime in. It's a good way to reach us very quickly. All of these, many of these features like the user guides, functional impact, you don't even need to be logged in, but we highly encourage you to create your own login. And once you're logged in, you'll see all of your cases collected right here. If I'm logged in, yeah. So you'll just see your open cases. It's a very good way to consolidate your view, have it personalized, just your cases and everything in one place, like a workbench for you. And you can chime in on the discussions. You can contribute when you're logged in. You can review and ask questions. We can answer, or your peer group can answer. And in addition, you can also do downloads. Apart from user guides on ERP Toolbox as well as EBS, you can go in and download anything as a trial, and then you can work with your account rep to get license keys and stuff like that. So it's a very good way to connect with each other, ask questions, and reach us. Going forward, we'll also introduce things like enhancements, voting on enhancement. Those are some of the things we'll have in the future. So this is also a pretty new thing that we have launched. So I encourage each of you to have your own community login and start buzzing on the discussions, the forums. We love to hear from you, your experiences, and we want to keep the discussion threads going. Another recent thing, what we did cover today are just some generic tips and best practices that I have been talking about in web sessions, and which seem to resonate really well. People say, wow, I didn't know that there were things like these. I just covered those. It was very generic. But if you want a more personalized and a tailored kind of a training, we also have a training brochure, which is very recently launched. We have training programs, which you can personalize, provide your agenda, and then we can tailor and personalize the training. So you can work through your account rep and request for a very personalized training on specific tools. And it can cover an everyday level 1 kind of topics, everyday user kind of topics. There's a neat little agenda or list of topics that we provide for the level 1 user and then for the level 2 or a power user. And we also have some courses or training levels which are curated for an admin kind of an IT person as well. So you just have to reach out, ask for the training brochure, and provide your, pick your list of topics and extend it also. And we are happy to provide a very tailored kind of a training. And in future, we can continue this series. I'll have it more tailored to an IT kind of a person who's administrating the wizards. We can talk in more detail about the extension package, how to use it. I can open it up and do an example through that. I can do an example of a custom query download and a lot of other little features that are hidden under the layers. So those, we plan to do these as a recurring kind of a series of webinars in the future. And we'll love to hear what topics need to be covered in the future, and we'll try to incorporate those as well. All right, so we are coming down towards the end with 3 minutes to go. I think it's a good time to cast a glance at the Q&A, Stephanie.
Yeah. Are you able to see more? I can read them to you. We have quite a few.
All right, yes, I can pull them up.
Yeah, and so what we'll do is we'll go through the order of the questions, and if you have a follow-up question to Rachana's answer, just hit the raise your hand, and then I will allow you to talk. It'll just be a lot easier than you'd having to type it back and forth. It'll be a lot easier. So like I see Catherine, Kim, Tracy, Jessica so far. When Rachana's answering it, if you have a follow-up question, just raise your hand, and I'll unmute you. So do you want me to read it to you, Rachana, or are you good?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah, I'll just read out the question. So
Yeah.
one of the questions of the first question was, what is the benefit of trimming the columns for upload? So we often recommend this. That's one of the first suggestions we give you, because typically when you start with a new worksheet, when you get it and you start with a new sheet, it could be quite unwieldy. It has most columns, many columns that we find representative enough to handle a full record width. So when you're doing an upload, it validates everything. When you're doing a download also, it queries and brings back all of these values. So it's a little more taxing when you are doing, let's say, thousands of records. When you're uploading thousands of records, validating each of these could be quite cumbersome, and it adds to the workload on the query. It's not the most efficient and the fastest if you have so many columns. As you can see, I'm going on and on scrolling on a new sheet when I generated it. So definitely not ideal if you're doing 1,000+ lines here. So we always recommend remove columns when you're doing an upload. It saves all the validation steps, all the validation work power that goes inside the upload query. So straight away go in, delete columns. Some of you have seen tend to just hide it, just to keep it easy on your eyes, but not really get rid of things, because it sometimes blows up. Like we saw before, the line type was among some of the columns which we didn't need, but the wizard asked for it. So people are scared to straight away go in and delete. So I've seen many of you do the hide step, but I want to make you aware, even when they are hidden, you are actually asking the query to validate them. You are doing a download on those values when the download happens. So the queries are no more easier when the columns are hidden. They are as weighed down with all of the processing power. So that's why it's always recommended to remove them when you're going into really mass, 100 plus thousands of rows. It's always recommended to do that. I hope that answers the question. Please raise your hand if there is a follow-up question on that from anyone, including the person who asked it, and move past to the next one. Can you review the default values row? So I'm assuming you mean to say validate. When the default values row does not get validated, there's no list of values on that. Unlike the other rows, when you're on the other rows, you can double click, bring up the form, but you're on the default values, it doesn't bring up the form or validate anything. You can review what percolates down doing an upload using validate only. So that way you can see, just test, okay, I put a formula, how does it look on the remainder of the lines? So just do a validate only and then upload. It'll just bring down the formula values, stick it into the rows, and it won't really upload because it's validate only. So you can that way review what formula or what default values are sticking into the rows, but there is no list of values when you double click here. I hope I answered that question. Please feel free to follow it up. Just trying to see how I can mark them done. Can you review the default row? Okay, I did an answer live. So I hope that answers it. Can you set an instance as your default value? That's the next question. Can you set an instance as your default value?
And a role.
And a role, okay. So yeah, let me answer that. So anything that is here is just an Excel formula or an Excel value. Okay, so you can put in an instance if that is what your column is going to take. You're confident it's going to be valid as a value on the column. Let's say you have an attribute that holds the instance. You can definitely put that as the default for it. Let's say I take this instance URL and put it on my attachments. Let's say that's a very common thing. People put something on the attachments or on the DFFs. So definitely I can put it as the default on this line attribute. Okay, so I can just do Control V. I usually like to paste it just as value to know that this is a default, but yes, you can do that. And as long as you're confident it's going to be valid under here, you can place it here and it'll percolate down. So it's just treat it as text and pulls down, nothing different. Or if it's a formula, it's numeric, whatever value it is, it's an Excel kind of a feature we are doing to pull it down. We're not validating as per list of values or anything. All right. We'll keep going. We have 3 existing custom web ADI integrators that are not changeable because they were developed in 12.1.3 or before. And the underlying custom tables are owned by project schema versus our custom schema. The download and upload all use custom views and a custom database package all owned by apps. Would this be possible to redo with More4apps? And of course, getting the custom tables owned by projects moved to the custom schema. Okay. So we had an application interface wizard. It was a development platform, but yeah, it's not in the offering anymore. Actually, we pulled it off. So there's no custom objects or custom loaders that you can build anymore. If you already had it, it's called the application interface wizard, and it is pulled off because now we have diverted our resources to cloud development very rapidly. New integrators are coming out in the cloud, so we are limiting our EBS, new features and new new products. But the AIW was a development platform. If you already have it, you can develop new custom integrators against any custom objects like a custom view or a custom table. But if not, then yeah, custom things are not supported out of the box. I hope that answers. Oh, I see that the follow-up is already there. The next question actually answered the previous question. Custom wizards are no longer possible, has been discontinued since their migration. Yes, that is correct. So the follow-up question was actually just an answer to the previous one. So you have it right. That is how we stand. That development platform is not in the not supported anymore. Okay, so let me keep moving on. Is there a training session for integration such as invoices with credits and debits, shortcuts, and what to avoid, prevent?
Jessica did raise her hand real quick, so I'm going to allow her to talk. Is that okay, Rajna?
Okay. Yes, definitely. I didn't notice that. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Rajna, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes, Jessica.
Okay, great. So one follow-up is we own some more for apps already. So was that thing for the custom, I forget what you called it, was that a separate purchase that we had to actually buy that module? But we have multiple modules already. So does that mean we would already have it, or do we just need to ask our rep? Or
yes, to ask your account rep. It was called the application interface wizard. If you had it, then your admin IT people would know how to develop custom loaders out of it. But somebody has to review your if it's a subscription or if you own some of the wizards, then somebody just has to review it and let you know if you already have that feature or not.
Thank you. Sorry.
Sure. Thank you. No worries. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll keep moving on. Is there a training session for integrations on the credit debit side? So yes, most of what I covered today was generic. They'll work on your AR and other wizards as well, EBS wizards. But yes, there are a few shortcuts and best practices which you can cover on the AR side. I can follow it up this webinar just in the form of a webinar. But if you have specific agenda, tailored agenda in mind, then best is to reach out to your account rep and ask for a training session, which is curated to your needs. We can definitely do that on a web session. But yeah, we are planning to have this, trying to make this a recurring theme of a webinar series. Okay, I'll move on if there's no follow-up on that. Is there a method to update to the latest version of the wizards when we have many saved files that we use regularly? Okay, let me go into that. This is a little long-winded of an answer. But yeah, it is useful, so let me answer that. Okay, let me go back to the sharing. Now that we are in the spillover time where we are just addressing, it's only the more engaged and interested people holding on, I'm hoping, past the 30 minutes mark. So you'll bear with me as I go through this answer. So typically when you're logged in, you would see your versions information all in here. Okay, that's all in here, including your package, header, body, everything, all the versions here. Okay, and then I was on the communities before. So when I'm here on the download page, okay, usually, am I logged in? Yes, I'm logged in. So I'll see this only if I'm logged in. Here's where you'll see the latest and greatest. So this is a place where you can check what is the latest required, and you'll see that it is the product code, the header version, minimum body version, release date, everything's in here. So let's say I go into the price list wizard. That's what I am at. So I look at the price list wizard. It's called PLW in short code. This is the version on the website. Let me compare it to what I have. So I have a 2461 and there is a 2506 out there. So this right away tells me I'm behind. But there are really minor features. Mostly I tend to keep demoing the stable version, the baseline version. I prefer to do that. So I keep it there. But yes, for you, once it is released, you can look at the release notes, what has changed since 2461, what you have, look up the release notes. Okay. If you look up the release notes, I'll see that 2461 was a little behind, and I can look up what all changed since then. Is it something that matters to me? You can review and see whether it matters to you or not. Does it make sense to go upgrade to the latest version, or you're happy to continue? These are really minor things that you never encountered. Okay, usually these are all really minor. These wizards have been there for a long time, so it's really minor fixes and updates happening. So you can always review. And if you are upgrading to the latest, you should also review what is the package body version that goes along with it. Make sure you have the same. Okay, so if I go back here, here's my package header 111, package body 137. I can compare. So I meet the basic baseline. So when I do an upgrade, I don't really need to upgrade my packages. That's a good thing. I just need to get hold of the latest spreadsheet version. So it's a little easier of an upgrade now for me. So that's how you read this page. And we always recommend you be up to date, because when you reach out to support, that's one of the first things they'll tell you, upgrade to the latest version, most often, unless it's like a basic functionality thing that you're encountering, and will definitely help, but we always recommend to upgrade to the latest version. So that's how you read through that and upgrade. Let me double check if I answered that question in entirety.
Rashna, whilst you're doing that, sorry to interrupt. I just want to clarify one thing. Is for those customers who have got a custom loader that they've built using our application AIW application interface wizard, we do continue to support that. What we've stopped is new sales of custom loaders. So and using AI and sales of AIW within or for the purpose of creating custom wizards. So we do continue to support customers who previously bought those, and they can buy additional seats, but we've just stopped selling it to new customers.
Right. And that was in response to Jessica, your question. Yes. So it's a good idea to go back and check what you already have, because yes, definitely it'll be supported if you have it. Thank you, Gavin. Thanks for chiming in.
Thanks, Gavin. And Georgia does have a follow-up, so I'm going to allow her to talk real quick. And allowed to talk to the wrong person. Give me a second. Okay, Georgia, you can unmute yourself when you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. My question is, our group has probably 20 or 30 wizards that we have saved in various configurations for different uploads. We mostly use the item wizard and the item extension wizard. So my question is, if there is an update that we need, that we're far enough behind and we do need to update to the latest version, is there a way to update all of those files, those save files that we use on a regular basis, to the latest version without having to download the latest version and recreate everything?
That will be a manual process to go into the downloads, download the zip file. It is easy to bring in your tailored sheets. You can just take the sheet, right click. So let's say you have done a lot of work in trimming down, doing your formulas and things like that. When you download your new wizard, you can straight away move or copy this sheet onto the new wizard copy.
Okay, so we do actually have to download and then just recreate them all over again.
Yes, you can take your sheets over, but yeah, there's no automated way of going through a folder and keeping everything up to date as far as I know.
All right. Thank you. That's what I needed to know.
All right, yeah. Are there any recommendations or limitations to number of columns and rows in a More4apps custom wizard besides Excel's maximum limitations? And this is coming from Jessica, so I think you're alluding again to the AIW, which is the custom builder. Yeah, that should also function like our wizard. It should not have any limitation on rows and columns. Not just for custom More4apps, but for all More4apps wizard, is there a feature setting to exclude any invisible special characters, carriage returns, line feeds, being uploaded to tables, or validation to prevent forcing the wizard user to correct before being uploaded to a table? So the second part of the question, the first part was about alluding to the custom wizard, which is AIW, but the second part is about filtering off or blocking off any special characters like carriage returns, line feeds, etc., from being uploaded to tables. So from what I know, since we have validation against each column and forms associated with each column, the list of values, should exclude them. I'm not sure if you've experienced that carriage returns and special characters like carrot or something is getting uploaded. They should not, because at least the carrots or special characters like, piping or anything should not get uploaded because they will fail in the LOV validation. They are not part of the list of values. But if you've experienced any white, invisible kind of characters like carriage returns, line feeds, we'll have to work with you on that. From what I know, it should not go in. Yes, I think, Jessica, you have a follow-up on that. Let's unmute you.
Yeah, we have experienced it. So I guess we can just contact support and they can help us change the validation, or do you think it's because we're behind in our version?
Yeah, it depends upon the product, specific product, but yes, I would encourage we work through
suppliers is a big one.
Okay.
Suppliers that and their addresses.
Okay. Oh, okay. Address, yes, because you copy from
and names, people copy and paste from another spreadsheet and put it in the wizard, and it seems that's how it's getting in there.
Okay. So some amount of validation you can build in. So for example, many people have the validation that supplier name has to be uppercase always. So I've seen that, let's say this is the name that came in for the supplier or the customer from an extract. So what you can do is use Excel to trim off and remove junk characters. So let's say I insert a new column. Okay, so this is what comes in from the extracts. And I'm going to name the actual wizard should identify this new column here. And this should be the legacy or the extract name. Okay, so this becomes an invisible column to the wizard. So this is another little tip that you can insert any number of columns, name them whichever way, and they'll be invisible or transparent to the wizard. They don't process these. Our wizards won't process these extra columns. So now let's say I want to remove anything or turn this into uppercase. I can name this, designate this as the wizard column because I gave the right label here. And this is actually a conversion on the actual name here. Okay, so I can do this. Okay, and as long as it's a formula, this is text, so I'll change it into a formula. So you can do that here. Okay.
Okay, gotcha. That's smart. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. It should translate to a formula. Right now it's not doing it because it was text originally, but it should turn it into a formula and give it. So here using Excel, you can do some trimming and some removing. You can keep this formula on here as well. Okay. So you can just paste here and basically this will percolate down as a formula all the way down. Okay, so if this is a supplier name, you want to change it to uppercase, you can just put it here, reference this value here, and it becomes a default and it goes down all the way. So that's a way to do any kind of processing on what you are getting from an extract on the supplier, change the name or consolidate. If it's multiple lines, things like that can be done using Excel formulas. So that's one way, but definitely we can work with you if you're encountering some sort of corrupted data going in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, we have one more. We have time for one more. So we have Allison's question, and then we'll probably have to wrap it up. But if you have any other further questions, when I send out the recording tomorrow, just reply to that or reach out to your rep. But we'll end it on Allison here.
Perfect. Yes, Stephanie. Okay, so I have questions regarding the AR cache application wizard. Would I need to request a training for that specific one? Yes, we highly encourage you. Just contact your rep. We can have a tailored session. If it's just questions, we can get online, one of our support team members, or I can get online and answer specific questions, but you have an agenda in mind. You can ask for the training brochure and we can definitely tailor a training for you. This was the training brochure. So we can definitely tailor a specific training for you. But yes, go through your account rep and we can set up a session.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Like I said, I will send out the recording tomorrow. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reply that email or reach out to your rep. And again, we have a survey at the end. I really appreciate all of your feedback. talk about topics for the future, anything. It's all appreciated. But thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you, Rachana.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.